So we filmed it. We threw it up on IG, hit the search page, over 1 million views. Another one, 500,000, 600,000. And we're like, what the hell is this? And it turns out there's like a weird ASMR fetish thing with the cracking.
Man, we're making this happen. There we go. Thank you so much for joining me.
CVV, Chris Van Vliet, back on the show. Got the man with the belt and the silver plaque. I am glad to be with you.
Oh, wait, who's doing the interview here? This is amazing. Wow. Dr. Beau. I don't know if I should call you a chiropractor or I should call you a YouTuber or what I should call you.
Yeah. My mom used to call me Rick, and that really confused me as a child. So apparently there was some TV show that she liked one of the guys named Rick, and she would be like, "Come here, Rick." And I tried to use that as a nickname in school, but I got sent to the principal's office. So Rick would be fine, or Dr. Beau, either way. Dr.
Beau, you were Dr. H for a while. Is that still a thing?
It can be. It varies. You
have so many letters after, like in your description, in your bio. Can you go through and help me? What do all these letters mean? What is DN?
Doctor of Naprapathic Medicine.
Okay. What about DC?
That would be Doctor of Chiropractic Medicine.
You are a lot of doctors. What about EP-C?
Certified Exercise Physiologist.
My goodness. DAAPM.
Diplomat of the American Academy of Pain Management.
CSCS.
Certified Strength Conditioning Specialist.
I wonder if I can stump you with any of these ones. CES.
Forget my own credentials. Corrective Exercise Specialist.
And one more. I can't believe how many letters you have after your name, but the final one is FMS.
Functional Movement Screen Specialist.
My goodness. Which one of those are you most proud of?
Oh, probably the one you didn't list, which is my master's degree in exercise science.
Well, you didn't list it, so I mean.
So maybe I'm not that proud.
I don't know.
I don't know. I spent a lot of money. We'll just say that.
Yeah. How many years of school did you go through?
Total 16 years of university.
16 years.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yep.
Now, did you know, like when you were growing up, that this is what you wanted to do for a living?
No, not at all.
What did you think you were going to do?
That's a weird question, because I feel like we ask kids like what you want to do, and it's like, enjoy your childhood or youth, and it's like 5-year-old, hey, I want to be an astronaut, and you're like, right. Do you understand the rigorous training, the G-forces you're gonna have to go through, the federal income tax that's going to be going on here? You have a divorce, you've got alimony and spousal support. I mean, it gets very complicated. So I don't know. I think every kid wanted to be a paleontologist, right?
I mean, every kid likes dinosaurs, that's for sure.
But are they real?
Ooh, are dinosaurs real? Are you saying they might not be?
I don't know. This is the chatter I've been hearing lately.
I definitely think dinosaurs look different than how we like have them in Jurassic Park and in museums. Like, I mean, what's this new research that says dinosaurs might have feathers?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, it might sound reasonable. I don't know. It's just interesting because when you're a kid, you're right. You're 5 years old. It's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And every kid's like a baseball player, a football player. And it's like, okay, kid. Do you realize like the odds of you doing this are so incredibly slim?
Astronaut to president. Can we give people some reasonable goals? Like I want to be an accountant. Yes, please.
It's always accountant. Why is it always accountant?
I don't know. I mean, who's going to help you fight off the IRS? I mean, everybody needs a good accountant, I feel like.
Right. Little kids are really obsessed with garbage trucks. Maybe you could be.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's interesting.
That might be something to grow up and aspire to be.
We need to start a movement, man. We need to start a blue-collar youth movement. Kids, stop reaching for stars that you can never reach. Unless you're Elon Musk, don't try to do it.
I love it.
Find something with a pension, PTO, sick leave, maternity leave, maybe paternity leave now. I don't know.
Yeah. At what age did you start to go down the path that you're on?
Oh, so I guess let's circle back. So I way back, early 90s, I was a big football fan, wrestling fan first. And I think a lot of kids were, but then transition to football. So I like the 49ers, and probably just because I'm a bandwagon fan. So I was like really into like Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. And at the time, they had a chiropractor that was like, showing up on network TV or whatever with them. And they were saying, hey, this guy helps keep me in the game. And then Emmett Smith was saying the same thing. So then when I bandwagon jumped to the Cowboys in the mid 90s, they also had a chiropractor. And then Tiger Woods, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then Franco Columbu was actually a chiropractor. So when I got to high school, I was having some back issues lifting weights and things like that. And my parents had always gone to a chiropractor whenever they, pinched a nerve or had a rib out or something. And so I would go, and I noticed that, I would run faster or have less back pain when I would get adjusted, especially during the season, maybe every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks. And so that's kind of how I became a patient. And then I played college football. So after college football, I was a biology major originally. So that's my first bachelor's degree. And come to find out, you can't be a biologist with just a bachelor's degree. You need a PhD in biology, and then you still only make $60,000 a year. So, and I wasn't super into anything other than insects. So my specialization in my undergrad was entomology, and it probably was because I grew up playing Pokemon. So it was like a real life Pokemon collection. You would go catch a beetle, a wood-boring beetle, and you would pin it up, and you got to catch them all.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like go down that route, and they were like, kid, there's no money here. And I was like, well, shoot. What else am I interested in? At the time I was into bodybuilding after I got out of football. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, my chiropractor played a lot of golf, seemed to have really long lunch breaks. He knows the human body. And I was like, that might be the career path for me. So I started looking at pharmacy, chiropractic, and physical therapy. And I had never been to physical therapy, but I'd been to a chiropractor. And I was strongly considering pharmacy, but as I was applying through the process, they said 99% of the jobs in pharmacy are going to be in retail. And I just, I didn't want to work at a CVS or Walgreens necessarily. I mean, thank God they do, and they get paid well for it as well. But, to have somebody yelling at me why their medication isn't covered, or, they want ivermectin for COVID or something like that. And you're like, man, please, that's a dog heartworm medication. I can't give it to you. And to be dealing with that all day, I just didn't want to do it. So I started applying to chiropractic school. I got into Parker University in Dallas, and that was in 2007. And I went through that program. I joined a company in Texas. I worked with some UFC fighters in Dallas and San Antonio, moved to Cincinnati, then moved to Bogota, Colombia, where I worked with their Olympic team for about 8 months. And then finally, I moved back to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then a couple of years after that, I joined Jackson Link MMA, which is where we're broadcasting from right now.
So who was the first like big name that you worked on? Because now you're known for working on like so many huge stars, but who's the first one?
Like as far as a fighter or?
Sure. Just someone that like outside of like your regular person, like someone who, people might know.
Oh, okay. I think my first pro athlete was a defensive end named Igor Olshansky, who was on the Cowboys. My first UFC fighter was a man named Shane Roller. And then eventually he brought in a guy named Johnny Hendricks, who's probably was in that first group the most famous. He was a 3-time national champion wrestler at Oklahoma State and ended up being a UFC champion. And almost beat your boy, George St. Pierre, but lost 3-2 on the cards.
I had the pleasure, can I call it the pleasure of getting adjusted by you? I mean, it's not very pleasurable when it's happening, but then afterwards it feels good. But your techniques seem very different from what other chiropractors do. Where did this come from for you?
It came from a lot of places. Like I said, as you were listing off, I do have a master's degree in exercise science. And so when I got through chiro school, what I realized was I was really good at diagnostics. And, it's interesting with chiropractors, the education is basically a copy model of medical school. So you take all these crazy classes, immunology, geriatrics, pediatrics, OBGYN. You have to take all these board exams on things that really don't have anything to do with your clinical practice. And you take 4 parts to the boards, just like medical steps. So one of my criticisms of chiropractic education is trying to be too much like medical doctors, despite not having the same scope of practice at all. And unfortunately, through that process, you don't really learn how to treat musculoskeletal conditions all that well because you're too busy, trying to play primary care physician, but without prescription abilities and things like that. So immediately I realized there were some big holes in my treatment arsenal. And so I started looking for things that would help me. So I took some soft tissue courses. I joined a company, like I said, that did a lot of soft tissue work. And then I ended up pursuing a second doctorate in Naprapathic medicine, which are soft tissue connective specialists. So that blended with the manual work that I already had, plus the rehab education. And then, meeting some doctors from Holland and from Thailand that did some of the hammer and chisel, and basically just always trying to throw out the stuff that doesn't work very well and keep the stuff that does. And by any means necessary, really. So whatever we have to do to use that, whether it's, shockwave therapy, lasers, or, me hammering you from behind, whatever we have to do to make you feel better.
Yeah. Literally hammering me from behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people are like very caught off guard when they see you bring out the hammer for the first time, whether that's in person or in your videos. But maybe like, can you explain what you're actually doing with it?
Yeah. So it depends on what part of the body. So for example, like upper ribs or sacroiliac joint or humerus, what we're trying to do is get a really specific movement of a very specific bone. So when you do a manual adjustment with your hands, you're sort of just opening up everything, right? So when something cracks, when there's multiple cracks, it's multiple joints being opened. Not very specific as far as directional, not very specific as far as separating one segment from another. So using the hammer and chisel, and there's other forms that are similar to it, like activator, for example, but the activator, it's like flicking somebody. It's not enough force to actually move anything. So, sometimes you've got to get out the hammer if you want to get the bone to move.
Are you able to, at this point in your career, look at somebody and go, oh yeah, this vertebrae is off, or this thing in your neck or whatever is off?
Yeah, it depends how ripped they are, but yeah.
So if they're ripped, it makes it easier?
Significantly.
So if someone says like, oh man, my neck's really hurting, you can look at it and go, it's because of this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Wow. I was blown away when I said my neck is hurting a little bit on this side. You like touched it and you went, oh yeah, it's and then you gave me some scientific term and I went, oh sure. And I nodded like I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. It's funny because like back in the day, some of my students, I would take them to the mall because I teach at a school as well. And we would sit there and we would watch people walk by and limp or whatever. And so what they would have to do is guess what was making that person limp. And then we would send somebody up and ask them a question and you would give them $5 or whatever for their time. But it was super useful for them to be able to see that validation and progress. Like, okay, so you see somebody limping and I would say, oh yeah, it's their right knee that's making them limp. So just like getting a handle on the biomechanics and how the body moves and how the body moves away from pain and how it compensates, and simply how physics works on soft tissue and bones and things like that. It's something that it helps a lot if you have like a history of grappling, for example. So I wrestled for 12 years growing up and played college football. And so, watching and feeling bodies move around, I think that was really helpful for my career and, doing some jiu-jitsu as well. But like being able to understand how a body moves in space. And I actually think like video games are super helpful for careers like this, just like learning the patterns of how things bounce off of each other. And if you push here, how a lever moves. Everybody always wants to poo-poo on video games, but actually like a lot of their physics engines are so great. They're super helpful for careers in the real world because it gets them really used to understanding like what happens when one thing happens to something else.
I feel like you're the right guy to ask about this because of what you do for a living. I crack my knuckles like crazy all the time. Is this bad for me?
No, it's not bad for you. So they've actually done studies on this, and it was actually one of them was a singular study. It was pretty cool. So they followed a man for like 35 years. And in the study, they made him crack one of his hands every day and not the other one. So it was, what was that M. Night Shyamalan movie, Lady in the Water, where the guy just lifted with one arm? Remember that? Yeah. So it was kind of like that. But when they looked at his images later on in his life, the hand that was cracking the joints the joints were significantly healthier than the one that he didn't. So there's an old wives' tale that would cause arthritis or whatever, and that doesn't seem to be the case at all based on the data that's out there. In fact, popping them likely it stimulates synovial fluid movement and stopping joints from getting fixated probably keeps them healthier long term.
What about people that crack their neck all the time?
All right, so there is such thing as hypermobility syndrome. So if you crack your neck too much, what can happen is the ligaments get kind of stretched out, and then you feel like you always need to crack it. And that can lead to chronic pain. The neck is significantly more complicated than the knuckles. So if they just move their head like that and it cracks, no big deal. But if you start twisting or torquing or things like that, there are, there's joints, there's blood vessels in there, that can be damaged if you're doing too much of it. For most people, it's probably safe. But you're talking 1 in 5 million. You might not know you have a predisposed underlying condition, and it can be a little risky.
I remember in high school, like everyone would crack each other's backs. That, you'd put your arms like this, you'd cross them over, and then the guy would stand behind you and lift you up. Yeah. And I love that you laugh at this. How terrible of an idea is this?
Again, I would say generally there are worse things you could do. There is a skill to it, right? So like, being able to have thousands of those under your belt, it makes a big difference. I mean, I've definitely known people that have knocked ribs out from that, but generally speaking, it's relatively innocuous, but I'm not recommending people do it.
Okay. When you grab someone's head and you turn it off to the side and we get that super loud pop, when you do that for the very first time, was it terrifying?
You mean to you or?
No, I mean, it was just terrifying to me when it happened, but
I mean, I felt your terror a little bit.
I like when you're grabbing someone's head, isn't it like really scary?
I guess it is. I mean, it's hard for me to remember. It's been, 13 years or something like that for me. So, there's a physiological end range that you need to find. And there is a mind muscle connection that goes along with it. It's like swinging a golf club or something like that, once you know where it is, it's second nature. So I forgot that, but when I'm teaching students, for them to be able to maintain tension and get the angle right. And obviously it's a neck and a head. So they're pretty concerned. So, I mean, you just, when you start off, you just really don't want to hurt anybody and your confidence is really low. And ironically, maybe unironically, I don't know. The smartest kids in school always took the longest to be able to adjust well. And the dumbest kids were always like the best. And I think that, it's like a Dunning-Kruger. You don't know what you don't know. So the smartest kids were thinking about all the possibilities that could go wrong and what their torque angles were and how much force to put into this direction. And the dumbest kids were like, give me a neck.
Man, well, then you must have been, it must have been tough for you because you're a member of Mensa, which is mind-blowing and incredible. But what did you like having that knowledge help things or did it hurt things?
I think I was somewhere in the middle. I wasn't, it took me, actually, I probably wasn't a very good adjuster till maybe 7 years out of school. So I don't think I was great leaving. And again, I said the education isn't great for that. I don't think, even though we have to have, over 500 supervised adjustments with real patients, in outpatient clinic, and I had over 1,000. And that's after student clinic and all those kind of things. My first job, we weren't even allowed to adjust. The first couple of years I was in practice, so I was only allowed to do soft tissue work. So what little muscle memory I had was gone fairly quickly. And, I had to learn and bring it back later on. For me, it was somewhere in between. Like I said, it took me a while. Having been an athlete, I was a little better than some of the nerds, but not as good as like nerds. I said. Yeah.
I think you kind of are a nerd now.
I am a little bit of a nerd, I try to make up for it by, growing beards and, putting vegetable soup behind my name
and watching UFC.
Yeah. Watching UFC and pretending to be tough and, taking these accolades from Miro or, getting put in the hurt. No, it's Lashley's version of the master lock. It's the hurt lock.
Yeah. The hurt lock, man. You got kicked by Holly Holm.
Yeah. That was real though.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's not real, but it was really real.
Yeah. That looked like it really hurt.
Yeah. It was bad. And she's a big lady. She's almost 5'9", probably 160 pounds of muscle, but it was for the million subs. So you got to do what you got to do.
Well, at what point did you realize what you were doing would have people interested on YouTube?
Blind luck.
Really? And you started your channel like about 3-ish years ago, right? I
mean, I started a YouTube channel 14 years ago. 2007 or 8. I didn't really post anything. I think during one of my master's degrees, I was uploading my squat functional movement videos up on there, and they were there for like 6 years because I would link to those for the master's program so that people could watch my squat and criticize how unflexible I am, of course. And so my Instagram kind of took off first. Like historically, what I was doing was sponsoring some of the fighters and saying, hey, look, we'll comp your treatment. We'll sponsor you for a camp. Just put us on your shorts and show us some love on Instagram and Twitter. And so by doing that, that really grew up my Instagram, pretty quickly up to, near 100,000. And so my IG was the first thing to grow. So that would have started in 13, 14, 15, maybe somewhere in there.
Sure.
And so a couple of our fighters, had gone to osteopaths in Europe, which are very similar to chiropractors in America. And they wanted to get popped. And up until then, we hadn't really been adjusting too many of the fighters around here. Generally speaking, they need other stuff a lot more because they have more muscular injuries. And we were like, all right, film it. So we filmed it. We threw it up on IG, hit the search page, over 1 million views. Another one, 500,000, 600,000. And we're like, what the hell is this? And it turns out there's like a weird ASMR fetish thing with the cracking. A lot of people are in pain, so they want to watch other people get work done. And then you add another layer of fighter over the top of it and MMA fans. So we took those stupid phone vertical videos and I just threw them up on YouTube. What do you know? 1 million views, 3 million views, 5 million views. And so I just happened to be at the very front edge of a weird Chiro YouTube movement. One of the first 4 or 5 to put them up, who really went gangbusters right off the bat. The algorithm loved us. It was kind of like a Dr. Pimple Popper thing that people would like fall asleep listening to the sounds. And then we were like, hey, if we also add interesting people in here, that would be cool too. And obviously from IG, we had other pro athletes reaching out to us and we're like, hey, can we film some of this? And little by little, it just kind of took off, and obviously the algorithms changed. So, every chiropractor in the world now posts all their videos online. So it's super saturated, but I just, like I said, I got lucky being on the front end of it. And I got lucky, I think, by having a lot of like pretty well-known patients right off the bat that were able to kind of catapult me, out ahead of everybody.
But the interesting thing is you didn't go into this planning to be a YouTuber. You just made these videos. You're like, oh, wow, people actually like these. Sure. I'll throw them up.
Yeah. And then I was like, wait, you could turn on monetization?
When I learned that, I'm like, hold on, you can make money?
Wait a second.
You can make money off.
I had 2 or 3 $10 million videos or 10 million view videos, and I didn't know you could do ads in the middle of the videos.
Right.
So I have $30,000 on the table on those videos by not knowing how to do that.
Yeah.
So, and again, same thing, I'm 30, what am I, 37 now? I was like, for the last 5 years, a YouTuber, bleh. Like, the universe always gives you what you're making fun of, I feel like. So I would always talk trash on YouTubers and be like, get a real job, kid. Like, like a normal boomer. And then, of course, the universe is like, oh, well, here you go. You should probably eat that crow and then go ahead and take this money.
When do you think you crossed over and you became a YouTuber yourself?
Probably when I got 100,000 subs, it was
kind of like,
that? Maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You went from 100,000 2 years ago to 1.3 million now.
Yeah.
Wow. The algorithm loves you.
Yeah. It's a rocket ship, man.
My goodness. I'm just I'm going so slow now. Mine was a rocket ship at first and then it's kind of flattened off.
Yeah. And mine's flattened some, but my flat is still pretty steep. So there was a couple of months where I was getting like 80,000 subs a month. For a while, I think last year we did 250 million views in 1 year.
That's insane. So if you got to the point where you're making more off of YouTube than you are from your actual practice,
100%.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Between Facebook and YouTube, I think the combined, and I have 3 practices, so I'm making more from that than 3 medical practices.
Yeah.
So make that make sense.
Think about that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Make that make sense.
but it's also so volatile, right? Like if anything changes with YouTube, that could all disappear in a second.
Yeah. Somebody in Palo Alto or wherever could be like, I don't like the way that guy said that comment. Smash your algorithm. They could freeze your channel. I mean, so many people have had their channels either shadow banned or whatever. So, to put all your eggs into that singular basket it's a risky move.
Yeah. What's interesting about your videos is for as many people that love them and binge watch them, you've got a bunch of people that are like, oh, I can't stand to watch. That looks so terrifying to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's something very visceral about it, obviously. I think as animals, we know to protect our necks. And then, we were preconditioned by Steven Seagal and, Jean-Claude Van Damme throughout the 80s. Like, you just walk up and do that, and then somebody's dead, which of course is not true. But,
That's not possible.
Not possible.
Oh, I feel like it Mortal Kombat has also taught me this is possible.
Sure. Yeah. It's virtually impossible to break somebody's neck with your hands like that. Like, in order to break somebody's neck, you'd have to bar over it and like crank it over your arm, almost like a really, really nasty jiu-jitsu choke. And even if you did break a bone, for example, that bone would then also have to move out of place, the most unlucky direction of all time, and then enter your spinal cord. But even that wouldn't kill you. It would potentially paralyze you unless you like somehow got in there and dragged the bone up into your brain, and then it could kill you, I suppose.
I feel like I just sat through a medical class lecture. Thank you for that.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of like if you see movies where like bullets are like flying through the water really fast, like that's not possible. American action movies are like the worst for like gun education. You can stand behind a sheetrock wall and not get shot, or like a car, like the little flimsy metal. You think that's going to stop a bullet? Like, no.
Well, this is why Mythbusters have a show.
Right. And I think they did all those, or didn't they?
They've done everything. Yeah, absolutely. But with you like rising in your popularity with this, like there's been a lot of haters that have come with it too. Like, what's your reaction? What's your reaction to people that like think what you do isn't like legit?
Who said that?
Well, I guess Joe Rogan's probably the biggest.
Wow. I don't know. I'm gonna have to process this. Yeah, man, it comes with the territory, It's funny because people are like, you're not a real doctor, da 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 da. I mean, cool, man, believe what you want. I mean, we have patients that appreciate what we do. There's plenty of literature out there that supports what we do. And things are going to be polarizing, right? Like if we've learned anything in the world anymore, it's everything's polarizing. Vaccines are polarizing. The earth being around is polarizing. So yeah, I mean, this is America or Canada, and people are welcome to their opinions on whatever they want. And by all means, they don't have to go get treatment. They can hop under a surgical knife any day they want to. So that's probably what I would say to that, if you meet a chiro or a physiotherapist or whoever, and they seem like they're a reasonable person, I'd probably give them a shot.
You've changed a lot of people's lives, right? You've improved the quality of life for, a number of your patients.
Sure. I mean, we can delay surgeries 10, 15 years. We can avoid surgeries for people that have been told that they have to have surgery, and then we completely fix them and they don't have any pain anymore. And our UFC fighters are a good testament to that. I think we've had 3 injury pullouts in 5 years out of Jackson Wink MMA. So our fighters don't generally pull out of fights because we keep them healthy. The injury bug was going around before and people were pulling out left and right. They sort of copied our model now. A lot of the gyms were like, hey, we need to have PTs in office, getting our hands on these guys first to make sure they don't pull out of fights. But honestly, it's kind of crazy with this whole COVID thing. Cause like I've probably gotten maybe 500 messages of people, because obviously I'm a big proponent of getting vaccinated. The science is clear. They're safe. They're effective. For everybody out there that hates vaccines, I know you're more mad about me getting vaccinated than even being a chiropractor, which I never thought I would see that. But if you can get it done. But honestly, that itself, if I personally save 10 lives just from that, that's actually bigger to me in my career than all the people that I've helped get out of pain, and all those other things. Because in my career, I'm not really life saving, right? We're improving lives. We're making people feel better. A couple people we've had that we fixed that might have been suicidal. Those are also really huge to me, obviously. But like, I have so much respect for these frontline workers and nurses and, emergency room doctors that are saving people, especially during this pandemic.
Well, let's talk about the vaccine. What were your side effects? I have not been vaccinated. I'm not eligible yet, but you are fully vaccinated now.
Sure. So the first one, so I had the Moderna vaccine. The first one was just arm soreness for about 24 hours. Nothing too bad at all. The second one I had about 5 weeks later, and I had it at 10 a.m. So I had patients all that day, and I got kind of cocky, right? I was like, oh, everything's fine. And by about 10 p.m. that night, I started getting chills, teeth chattering, and all that stuff. So I started developing a fever. So it took some ibuprofen, kicked that, but the next day was super tired. I felt really, really hungover, like I've been, drinking Canadian Dry or whatever all night. Oh, that's ginger ale.
Molson, Labatt.
Molson. Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah, there you go.
I appreciate it. I've lived in America long enough. I know your beers.
I was trying. But super hungover feeling. So we had to move for my patients the next day. So that lasted for about 48 hours, and that's been about it. The thing about mRNA, it should clear your body in 24 hours. What people don't realize is all it does, it's a little message. Your body always makes mRNA, by the way. It's not some random thing. Every protein that your body makes uses mRNA to do so. And the coronavirus would also use mRNA to make more copies of itself while causing inflammation. So all those messages do, they take something called a ribosome and transfer RNA. They grab your amino acids, they put them together and make something called a protein. In this case, it's coded for a protein called the spike protein. The spike protein is then recognized by your immune system, which then if you are exposed to coronavirus later, it recognizes immediately, your body fights it off, and it keeps you from getting ill and transferring on the virus. So it doesn't have nanotechnology, nanobots. Bill Gates isn't trying to kill you. Literally, guys, scientists and public health are just trying to save your life so they can get your votes, so they can, keep their jobs. There's not a grand conspiracy. We just need to get out of this. This has been a really terrible thing for all of humanity. If you're into combat sports or wrestling, they're not touring to your cities anymore. And if you want to get back to that life, one of the only ways out of that is going to be by all of us getting vaccinated.
I think there's a bunch of people that are like, I'm not going to get vaccinated because everybody else is. And then we'll just have herd immunity.
Yeah, and we might get there, but it's the same thing. It doesn't take a lot of people to get it started again, So, the people in California that don't want to get their kids measles vaccinations, it's all fun and games until your kid is dead. And, people forget because we haven't had these diseases for so long, but it's miracles of modern medicine that keep kids from dying now, because we did come up with this amazing technology years ago. And all of this is fairly new. People are like, brand new. Guys, penicillin wasn't even around until 1947. So before that, you would scratch your arm and die of a blood infection. So, we're always making advancement. We're always solving problems. We were faced with one of the biggest challenges humans have had in a long time. And all of the brightest minds, scientists, healthcare workers have all spent hours and hours of blood, sweat, and tears to try to get us out of that. So, do your part. We are a community. We are a society. If you're going to say I'm not part of this society, then keep the same energy. Don't drive on the roads. Get your own food. Don't use water. Don't use Wi-Fi. Don't use the cell phone that some Asian kid made so you can comment on our post and tell us how dumb we are for getting vaccines, because you're too individualistic, to use any of that.
Yeah, you've made so many people online angry. I looked at a few of the comments and I went, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
Yep.
People are just like, just the fact that you even said that you got vaccinated, people were just so mad.
Sure. And, again, I do believe in medical freedom, right? I think it's your body, your choice. But I think you should also have an educated idea going into it. You shouldn't be swayed by conspiracy theorists online. If you have reasonable suspicion, I understand. Just like we were talking about, there's something visceral about your neck being cracked. There's something visceral about a needle going into your arm.
Sure.
It's similar to a snake bite or a bee sting. Just on a visceral level, it's something your body is opposed to. It doesn't primally want. So we're taking those fears and then we try to justify them. And then we get a group of people at Facebook University that also agree with us.
Facebook University. I love it. Has this last year with coronavirus helped or hurt your businesses, in terms of the practices and then also your job as a YouTuber?
Yeah, our business dropped a little bit early on. Luckily, we've been able to stay open. We're wearing face coverings and we take temperature and all that stuff. So a lot of folks clearly weren't going to come in. We're a hands-on practice. So we had a couple down months in March and April. And then again in November. New Mexico shut down again in November. So even though we were open, a lot of people thought that the entire state was closed. So we slowed a little bit, but overall, not bad, all things considered. So, our staff has been amazing. They've done everything possible to keep our patients safe. And all our doctors have done a great job of keeping people feeling good throughout this whole thing too, especially everybody working from home, dealing with neck and back pain. The YouTube thing's been a little interesting because obviously there are people that we try to feel them out. We try to get tested before we shoot videos and things like that. But videos aren't going to be great wearing face coverings. So we always want to be respectful of people and make sure that they're comfortable with those things. Same thing, like I said, try to get tested the day or 2 days before so that we know everybody's, relatively safe. But sure, we've had folks that didn't want to do that until, the orders are over. And travel's been a little restricted too. There's a lot less flights. Same thing. We want to get tested to make sure we're not carrying it to another state. It's been a little bit tricky, but all in all, can't complain. We've done the best we could.
So what does your schedule look like when you balance like being in the practice and then being on the road making YouTube videos?
So typically what we'll do is once a month, once every 2 months, we'll go hit a big city, and I'll kind of have a list of people who have reached out to me, wanting treatment, and 99% of them have reached out to me. Every once in a while, we just get connected through somebody else and they want to, come through and do some work. So we'll collect 8 to 10 videos during that time. My wife comes with me, my beautiful wife. Thank you so much, Lais, for going on this ride with me. And she, she'll film and then she'll edit those videos and we'll put them up every week or 2 weeks, kind of until we run out of content again. And it's been tricky. So for our own home office, it's been tricky because in New Mexico, we do have a face mask mandate. And so we're not going to film here without face coverings, but in Florida or Tennessee or some of these states where it's legal, we're going to follow the rules. So we haven't been able to shoot a ton here. We've had to have the tarps up for the gym, because obviously those fighters are still going to train. So, we take a week, we go do that stuff, we come back, and then I just go back to work, my regular job for 3 or 4 weeks. I treat patients 5 days a week, and I teach, in another city every week, and just grind it out, man.
I don't know if everybody realizes that your wife is also like very famous. At what point did you overtake her in your fame and in your mutual fame, I guess?
Well, I don't think I have,
She has almost 1 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah, she used to have more than 1 million. So she's actually backtracked since she's been married to me. So I think guys realizing that they don't really have a shot with her anymore, like unfollow. So she's been a fitness influencer for a decade now. So when we first started dating, I think she had 1 million and I had like 80,000 on IG.
So you gained a whole bunch from her.
Yeah, I probably pilfered a bunch of clout off of her. Clout trouted off of my wife. Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
Well, actually, originally 9 years ago, one of my rehab techs, his girlfriend at the time was a pro bikini model. So they had the same sponsor, and she had like these really debilitating headaches. And she was like, you have to go see this guy. And I was actually about to leave town and move. And I came in, treated her one time, fixed her headaches. And like a year later, we bumped into each other at like, I don't know, like a charity event. And actually I didn't recognize her because she came in like super dressed down that day, trying not to get attention. And she was like, hey, remember you fixed my headaches like a year ago. And I was like, this beautiful woman here. I'm like, maybe I did. I don't know if she's confusing me for somebody else, but I'm going to go with it.
Sure.
So we started talking and we started, kind of flirting on the internet and stuff. And next thing, I was like, hey, would you like to go out on a date with me? And ever since then, it's been a wrap.
Wow. I watched your beautiful wedding video. That was in Miami, right?
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was Key Biscayne.
Yes. I lived in that area.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we were actually supposed to be in the Bahamas, but Hurricane Dorian decided to destroy the Bahamas. And so we ended up not going there. And we just audibled and did it right there on the beach. So we hired a driver and hired a pastor that day, and we just went for it.
Oh, wow. One of the top comments on all of your videos is, I want Dr. Beau to work on me. Is that a thing? Can someone actually come to Albuquerque and have you work on them?
Well, not during the pandemic, but typically, yes. So we're not taking any new patients till our governor lifts our health order.
Okay.
Simply because we're required to have our, quarantine, and we just can't have people coming to the office randomly like that. But yeah, once the health order is over, yeah, we take new patients. We have people fly in from all over the world, Saudi Arabia, Canada, you name it. And they just come in like a regular patient, spend an hour with us. A lot of people come for a week, see us 3 or 4 times, get themselves all sorted out. We teach them how to take care of themselves, give them correct exercises. And so we treat 99.9% regular people.
Is this covered by insurance?
We are a cash only practice, but some folks can submit it and get reimbursed themselves. So we just, It's not worth the hassle for us. So yeah, I mean, they could use their FSA cards or HSA cards or things like that. But yeah, we don't process insurance.
Who's at the very top of the celebrity list of someone that you want to work on? And that would make a great YouTube video with.
Well, I already worked on you, so I think I already reached the mountain.
I think this interview's over. Get out of
here. He's done with me. I don't know, man. Whoever. I mean, I don't know. It's a good question.
Like, you haven't worked on Conor McGregor, right?
No.
That would obviously be an incredible video.
That would probably break the internet.
That might. What about former president?
I would actually like to work with Khabib. That would be kind of cool, you know.
Khabib. What about a former president?
Depends which one.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But there's many to choose from.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't discriminate. Like, you know, to me, it's an honor regardless of who it is. But obviously in today's political climate, I'm not going to pick names or whoever, just whoever you want to imagine I'm talking about. Half of your audience is going to be like, unsubscribe. How dare you help that person? Disgusting. How could you help somebody in back pain? I voted for the other guy.
Well, if they're still watching after learning that you had a vaccination.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not a real doctor, and you know
all of this.
Oh, and I'm friends with John Jones, you know, so that's another one that's not very friendly.
What about maybe you could work on Dana White? What's been the biggest video that you did? Actually, I think it was like 12 million views, right?
Yeah, I've had about 3 or 4 right in that little window, 11, 12. So I think it's just a random video, man. It's just a couple fighters from the gym. One is in the UFC, Yana Kunitskaya, but yeah, 12 million. And then we had a barber video, which was super random. My boy Juice down in Miami, and that one's almost caught it now at that point. It's almost 12 million, just a barber getting worked on. Super random, you know. So some of you think are going to hit big and some you don't know. And, you know, it's the luck of the draw, luck of the algorithm.
That's the beauty of YouTube. I mean, I deal with that all the time. When you're getting ready to work on somebody, is there something that you're like, oh man, I know that this particular movement is going to be very satisfying? Yeah,
for sure.
Which one is it?
I mean, it's when you have a thin person and you're doing the side posture for the lower back because you know it's going to be so crispy.
What's the one where my friend Zeus held my feet and then you grabbed my neck underneath and pulled up? What was that? That's
a decompression adjustment, or Y vertical traction adjustment. So it decompresses the spine. So it gets in between the bones and the vertebrae, where the sideways ones are rotational. They clear the facet joints. That one clears what's called the intervertebral joints.
Again, you're just, I'm just going to smile and nod. Oh yeah, for sure. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
All the weight that's crushing you down, it creates some space.
How often would you recommend that people get these kinds of adjustments?
So that's where I differ a little bit from other people's. We don't treat people not in pain, generally speaking. So if somebody wants to come in for wellness, I actually won't treat them. You know, we treat symptoms here. You know, we could show them some stretches and exercises, but I generally don't do wellness plans or things like that. So I'm a little different. I know a lot of chiros do that. I don't. I would rather people learn how to take care of themselves and not rely on me. You know, by learning the right stretches, the right strengthening exercises, to take care of themselves. And then we're here in a pinch if they absolutely need us.
What would you say are a few things that people can do right now without coming to see you that can help relieve some pain?
For one, go for a 10-minute walk. You know,
okay,
that's money in the bank right there. And you can pull it out and get a title shot at any time.
There it is. You're the champ, actually, after the video that we did.
CVV champ. You know, just foam roll your legs, get a lacrosse ball, get it on your shoulder blades. You know, those things, you know, stretch, just your basic PE stretches, man. Stretch 5 minutes before you go to bed, stretch your hamstrings, quads, hips. You know, you'll be happy with how well you sleep.
I know that I have a handful of videos that people always go, oh, I didn't find out about you until this one. And for me, with you, it was you working on Ryback. What's the big video that most people go, I didn't learn about you, I didn't subscribe to you until I saw?
Yeah, the barber one is a big one, you know, the crazy barbershop therapy. So my boy Juice, and he's actually the barber for the Marlins. So it's not like he's a nobody. He has his own trading card. So he's kind of
and
a
isn't
big
his
shot in the
barber
barber world.
shop underneath the stadium?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's a big shot, actually. That's a big one. You know, what else? A couple of the frozen shoulder videos from way back in the day. And then, you know, people are huge fan of the wrestler videos, obviously. So the Lana videos got 6 million views. Bobby Lashley's got 5 million. Ryback's got 4 or 5. You know, Miro's got 3 or 4. So, you know, virtually all the wrestling videos we've done, you know, Cage is on the way up. Melissa Santos is on the way up. All of those ones have been gangbusters. So, you know, wrestling fans have been huge for my channel, actually.
Well, I mean, I learned this from my videos is people want to see just a different side of the wrestlers. They're so used to seeing what they see on Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite. And when you see something different, like especially, you know, you're literally hammering Bobby Lashley from behind. I think people go, oh, wow, I've never seen that before.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a cool crossover and, you know, the fan base is huge. So obviously getting my licks in and starting out with UFC, and, you know, we had some basketball players and football players and things like that, but nothing really has seemed to get my channel going like wrestlers.
Who did you work on or work with that like was screaming way more than you expected other than me?
Everybody's kind of what I expect for the most part, you know, but I think the famous yelling one is the Diego Sanchez video where I'm working on his IT band. I mean, that one is just memeable material all the way around. So that one was pretty awesome. We have one, this lady named Dr. Scream. She's a medical doctor, and she lets it all out. So if you guys haven't seen that one, she's highly entertaining.
Well, I think the thing with the UFC fighters is people aren't used to seeing them like show
Vulnerable.
any sort of,
yeah,
they're not being vulnerable. So like you're with like one thumb or one finger, like making them scream like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's interesting when you see that with Tim Kennedy or, you know, John Dodson or Diego Sanchez or Carlos Condit, and also that they could kill me. So it's like, you know, it's like poking an alligator or something that like at any second, this guy might just snatch up his neck or head kick him or, you know, whatever. So it's interesting seeing that this, you know, monster right here on the table could just snap me in half, and then they choose not to.
I was blown away when I shook your hand for the first time because it's like shaking a catcher's mitt. Like your hand is like so meaty and muscular. Like I didn't know hands could be muscular, but yours are.
That's funny. Like my wife calls them meat paws, you know.
That's it. That is accurate.
It's like, yeah, I don't know.
That thing.
Yeah, so it's gotten kind of thick over the years. So yeah, just from, you know, working, squeezing people, 10, 15 people a day, you know, the muscles in my hands have gotten really thick and big, and, you know, it's a side effect.
Didn't you show me that you can't like physically close your hand in on itself?
Yeah, I can't make a tight fist all the way because like my thumb muscles are like, so I can't get my knuckles down all the way, and then I can't bring my thumb all the way across my palm because they're just hands. Yeah. Pretty weird. Didn't see that coming in life.
No. Obviously, what you've done with your YouTube channel is because of the occupation that you've chosen. But if somebody's watching this or listening to this right now and they want to jumpstart their YouTube channel, what kind of just general advice do you have for them?
I would say, you know, obviously YouTube wants you to be in a niche. So find whatever the niche that is, be consistent, right? Make sure your thumbnail game is on point, you know, pretty big deal. Give the people what they want, not what you want to give them. I know people always say, just do what you want, do what you want. No. At the end of the day, if YouTube is here, we're entertaining, right? So if people are giving you this feedback that this content that you're creating isn't great and you want to grow, you're going to need to give them what they want. You can even sprinkle in the stuff that you want to give them amidst there, but you'll get more views on your stuff if you give them what they want. So just like in anything, you know, you need to offer value to other people. Collabs are great, you know, so if you have other YouTubers that want to help collab with you and help grow your channel, it helps a lot. And honestly, a lot of it's just getting lucky.
What have you learned from making videos where you go, I like this, but YouTube doesn't seem to like this very much?
Well, some of it's CPM, you know, the thumbnails you think are okay. They have like a nipple targeter so I figured like guys with no shirts on would still make good CPM, but they don't. You know, so you're trying to find a thumbnail that will get enough clicks, but not enough to where it decreases your CPM. So that's interesting. Also with me, I don't actually watch any of my videos. So my wife edits them. you know? So I'm like, I'm sure it's great. Let's put it up. And then, then I furiously scan the numbers and try to find the patterns of which videos are doing well. So yeah, I mean, just trying to figure out what the new algorithm is doing this month is the name of the game.
I can't believe it searches for nipples.
It's very complex.
I never would have expected that.
And I'm going to help you right now with this video. I'm going to say, invest in your health. Your health is wealth. Your stocks will go up. This YouTube video is gold. We'll find a little bit of, I'm a little silver tongued right now. Make sure that your portfolio is full.
Wow. Yeah. The CPMs in the financial sector are just massive.
Yeah. So if you want to finance your future with this transcript, make sure to give Chris all the money and cryptocurrency and Bitcoins and Tesla stock and GameStop stock. Please, transcript, give him all the money.
Oh man, I wonder if this will work.
I think so.
Yeah. GameStop, Tesla, gold, silver, just all the buzzwords.
Exactly. Yep. Lamborghini, Rolex.
Yeah. Their CPMs are like 4, 5, 10 times what mine are.
Mine too.
That's just crazy. And
car videos too, man. Car videos are gangbusters.
Well, it's because the advertisers are willing to pay.
Yep. I get video game ads on mine. Lords Mobile, and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, great.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just scraping the bottom of the barrel with our wrestling fans, I guess. I guess that's how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Do you have some big names coming up that we can keep an eye out for?
Well, I don't know. We went back and we met up with, we just put out one with Sheamus. So we met up with our boy Miro and we did another with Lana that should be coming out.
Did you do Sheamus in Nashville?
We did Sheamus in Nashville. Yep.
Yeah. He's a massive YouTube star in his own right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's got 800,000 or something. The Celtic Warrior workout. Shout out to him. Shout out to 2B Miro TV. Shout out to Ryback TV. Also CJ Perry. Make sure you subscribe to all of their channels. Yeah, I don't know any other ones that I could drop that, I hate to do that because then if something goes wrong or the video is corrupted or whatever, but we got some good ones coming.
Yeah. You see it behind me here. Be great, be grateful. And I think that if you can be grateful, you'll live a great life. So towards the end of every interview, I ask my guests, what are 3 things that you're grateful for in your life?
I'm grateful to be healthy enough to have a good life. Not everybody's so lucky.
A great life.
A great life. Yeah, absolutely. Boy, I'm grateful for my family for always supporting me and giving me both roots and wings. So I always had support and opportunities.
I like that.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for my wife for always keeping my ego in check and letting me know all the things I'm doing wrong, but also supporting me. Yeah, man, I'm really grateful for everything. I'm grateful for abundance. I'm grateful to be born in a country where you can succeed. I'm grateful to be able to have the technology to reach out to people like you and everybody else out there. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to help people feel better in their lives. I mean, really, I kind of live in that state of gratitude every day as well. A lot of times I just pinch myself. I'm like, I'm so lucky in the history of humanity to be born in this time, in this place, and given the opportunities I've had. So literally everything.
That was a lot. That was definitely more than 3, and I love it. You can keep them coming if you want. I love it. Thank you for always being so kind to me. Thank you for the incredible adjustment that you gave me. And thank you for your time here. It was just like great learning your whole story.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.